You don't attract what you want. You attract what you believe you are worthy of. Let that one settle in your chest for a moment, my friends. Because the truth is, if love has felt like a performance, if you've been told to hustle, chase, prove, and persuade your way into someone's heart, you were sold a lie. This isn't your fault. The world gave you scripts instead of soul. It handed you tips instead of truth. And now you're here, quietly wondering, why am I doing everything they said and still feeling invisible? If you're here, it's not an accident. Your soul is ready to stop chasing and start attracting. So before we go any deeper, pause for a second, breathe, and press that like button. Hit subscribe, not just for me, but for you, because something tells me you've tried the dating apps, the curated texts, the flirty emojis, the polished smiles. You've tried being easier to love and you're exhausted. But this is the turning point. Hey ladies, imagine this. You're standing in front of a massive bonfire. It's roaring, alive, drawing people in like a magnetic force. But here's the thing, you didn't light that fire by running around looking for kindling. You lit it by going inward and striking the match inside your own chest. Now contrast that with what most women are doing. They're outside in the rain trying to spark a flame with wet matches and borrowed words, hoping he'll bring the fire. But deep down, you already are the fire. You don't need to prove your worth to be loved. You need to remember it. What I'm about to share with you isn't some recycled advice. It's not about playing it cool or learning what to text him after the third date. No, in just 7 minutes, I'm not going to teach you how to get a man. I'm going to show you how to get back to yourself. And watch what happens when love starts finding you. Because here's the secret no one talks about it. Real attraction doesn't come from your outfit, your hair, or even your words. And it comes from your energy, from your presence, from the way your soul walks into a room before your body does. You ever see a woman who doesn't say much, but somehow she owns the air around her, like her stillness speaks louder than everyone else is shouting? That's not luck. That's alignment. That's a woman who isn't trying to be chosen. That's a woman who already knows she is the choice. And guess what? That woman lives inside you too. She's not buried. She's just been quieted by years of rejection, confusion, second guessing, and self-editing. But she's still there, waiting for you to come home to her. My friends, this isn't about becoming someone different. This is about remembering who you were before you thought you had to become someone else. We're going to talk about Carl Jung. We're going to unlock the power of the subconscious. We're going to light up the part of you that magnetizes, not by effort, but by essence. And don't worry, we'll have some fun on the way too, because nothing is more powerful than a woman who can laugh, love, and lead with her light. So stay with me, because this isn't manipulation. It's magnetism, and it's not about chasing love, it's about radiating it. And when you learn how to walk in that kind of energy, you won't just attract love, you'll attract destiny. Number 1, energy is felt before words are heard. The body speaks what the soul has no words for. Let that land, my friends, because if you've ever walked into a room and felt like no one really saw you, like your presence barely made a ripple, you know exactly what this means. And it's not because you weren't beautiful, not because you didn't try hard enough, not because you didn't say the right thing. It's because your energy wasn't being felt. And energy, it speaks louder than any sentence ever could. And here's the part no one teaches you in school or in those viral TikToks about 10 ways to make him obsessed. Attraction doesn't start when you speak, and it starts before that, before your lips move, before your smile flashes, before your mind has a chance to form a clever thought. Attraction begins the moment your energy enters the space. And your energy, it tells your entire story without needing a single word. And picture this. 2 women walk into a room, both say hi, same smile, same tone, same effort, but one of them leaves a mark. She walks away and somehow something about her lingers. She didn't shout, she didn't try, she just was. Why? Because her energy was aligned, because her presence was anchored, because she wasn't trying to be liked. She was simply being herself, fully, completely, unapologetically. The other, she was smiling with her mouth but shrinking with her soul. You could feel the fear in her eyes, the self-doubt behind her laugh, the silent question running in the background. Am I enough for him to choose me? Let's be honest, my friends. Haven't you felt that way too? Maybe you've rehearsed the right words, texted the perfect thing, even read books on how to be magnetic, only to feel overlooked, and the mind starts spinning. What did I do wrong? Should I have said something different? Why did he light up for her and go quiet for me? Let me give it to you straight. It wasn't the words, it was the wavelength. It was the state you were in when you said them. You can't fake frequency. You can't trick vibration. The subconscious mind, the part of him that decides whether he remembers you or forgets you, isn't listening to logic. It's listening to resonance. Denzel would say it like this: you don't need a line, you need a vibration. Because the truth is, people don't remember what you said, and they remember how you made them feel. And that feeling, that's coming from your energy state, not your sentence structure. So here's what I want you to understand. Your energy is the envelope that delivers your words. And if that envelope is soaked in insecurity, fear, or a need to be chosen, like even the most beautiful message will be ignored. But if it's wrapped in calm confidence, rooted in self-worth, and sealed with presence, even the simplest hi becomes unforgettable. And the best part, you don't have to change your personality. You don't have to become louder, wittier, more charming. You just need to tune in to your real frequency, the one that's been buried under years of proving, pleasing, and performing. Because once you shift your state, you shift the entire room. Your voice doesn't need to be louder. It just needs to be clearer to your own soul. And that, my friends, is where we begin. So stay with me, because next we're going to dive into the most ancient, most misunderstood source of feminine magnetism. And not a tactic, not a script, but a truth buried deep inside you. One that once activated makes people feel you, even in silence. Number 2, the lover isn't a role, it's a state of being. You don't become magnetic by performing. You become magnetic by remembering who you are. Let that one touch the part of you that's been trying too hard for too long, my friends, because the world taught you that love is something you earn, that being desirable means being impressive, being shinier, louder, more interesting. But Carl Jung said otherwise. He knew something deeper, that attraction doesn't come from acting like the lover. It comes from being her. Now listen closely, this is important. The lover isn't a flirt. She's not a game. She's not a mask you wear on the date or a posture you strike when he walks in the room. She's a frequency, a state, a vibration. She is presence embodied, sensual, not just in the physical sense, but in the way she notices life, the way she smells the coffee, the way she runs her fingers over the fabric of her own shirt, the way she feels music, not just hears it. The lover isn't trying to catch someone's attention. She's too busy appreciating beauty to worry about being seen. There's a moment, maybe you've had it, where you're just lost in the world, laughing without thinking, dancing in your kitchen, wearing the shirt you love just because you love it, and someone looks at you like they've never seen you before. That's her. That's the lover. Now contrast that with what most of us were taught. Be more appealing. Ask the right questions. Keep his attention. All of that, exhausting. It puts you outside yourself. But the moment you return inward, you stop reaching and you start reverberating. You become the woman who walks into a room and everything shifts. Not because you said something clever, but because your soul was fully there. You don't have to be the loudest. You don't have to be the sexiest. You just have to be the most present. And when you are, you're not chasing love. You're calling it home. Stay with me, because next we're going to open a door most people never even see. A truth so overlooked yet so powerful, it will explain why certain people pull others in without effort, and how you can too. Number 3, your attraction lives in the subconscious, not the surface. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Let that sink in for a moment, my friends, because when it comes to love, most people are walking around thinking it's all about the surface, the smile, the conversation, the timing of the text. But here's the truth. No one teaches you. Attraction doesn't begin on the surface. It begins in the subconscious. If you're trying to convince someone to want you, you've already left your power behind. Real attraction, it doesn't happen in the words, it happens in the feeling beneath them. It's the pause between sentences. It's the way your energy wraps around a room without trying to be noticed. Jung understood this better than anyone. He called it the collective unconscious, a deep layer of the psyche shared by all human beings. It's where symbols live, archetypes, imprints older than language. This is the place where love actually lives. And so when someone says, there's just something about her, what they're really saying is, she spoke to something in me I didn't even know needed to be spoken to. You didn't say a single magical phrase. You became a symbol of warmth, of wholeness, of something felt but unspoken. Most women are trained to speak in strategies. What do I text? How do I make him miss me? But the woman who's unforgettable, she speaks in symbols. She becomes an image that stays in his mind when the noise of the world fades. And because here's what nobody tells you, the subconscious doesn't speak English, and it speaks energy, emotion, image. And so if you want to be unforgettable, don't try to be impressive, be evocative, and let your tone carry a story. Let your silence hold gravity. Let your presence whisper things your mouth never has to say. That's when someone doesn't just hear you, they feel you. And that's when they don't just remember your name. They remember the way their body reacted when you walked in. And my friends, that kind of memory, and it lives in the blood. It bypasses logic and it lasts. Stay with me, because next we're going to uncover the one trait that makes the most magnetic women feel like lightning in human form, and how it has nothing to do with what they wear or say. Number 4, individuation makes you irresistible. Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries. Let that roll through you like thunder, my friends, because we live in a world obsessed with polishing the surface, curating the feed, editing the soul down to something more palatable. And yet, none of that creates true magnetism. Real attraction doesn't come from perfection. It comes from integration, from a woman who has stopped trying to be someone else and started becoming fully herself. And this is the heart of Jung's concept of individuation, the process of unifying all the pieces of who you are, the light and the dark, the soft and the sharp, the parts you show the world and the parts you were told to hide. And when a woman walks through the world having made peace with herself, when she doesn't need to perform or prove or edit or shrink, and that's the woman who stops a man mid-sentence. That's the woman who turns heads, not because of the dress she's wearing, but because her essence walks into the room before her heels even touch the floor. See, we've all been taught that attraction comes from adding things, more charm, more beauty, more clever lines. But the truth, you don't become magnetic by addition. You become magnetic by integration. Imagine a stained glass window made of 100 colors, shapes, broken edges that somehow come together to form something beautiful. That's what you are. And when you try to hide the flawed pieces, when you perform only the parts of yourself you think are lovable, you dim the light that was meant to shine through the whole thing. Let me tell you something hard and true. You can't fully receive love while you're pretending to be someone you're not. And you won't feel fully seen until you show up whole. But when you do, when you lean back into your real self, own your contradictions, and speak from a place that isn't desperate for approval, that's when people feel your gravity. Because no one's looking for perfect. They're looking for real, and real reverberates. So stay with me, my friends, because next we're going to unlock what's been blocking your signal all along, and how a quiet wound from your past might be the very thing standing between you and the love that's already trying to find you. Number 5, your past isn't the problem, it's the portal. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Carl Jung, and that quote again, my friends, because this one, it cuts deeper here than anywhere else, especially when it comes to love, especially when it comes to the silent wounds you've tried to bury, the ones you thought you could outgrow, ignore, or move on from. But here's the truth, most people never say out loud, it's not your past that's holding you back, it's the parts of your past you haven't faced. See, love isn't just about chemistry, it's about clarity. And the wounds you hide, they don't disappear. They shape your energy. They whisper through your tone, your posture, your silence. They become the walls you can't cross, the ones that keep real love just out of reach, even when it's standing right in front of you. Jung called them complexes, clusters of emotion, memory, fear, and identity, usually born from rejection, abandonment, or heartbreak. And you know the feeling. You're on a date, everything's going fine, and suddenly a voice inside you says, "Don't mess this up." You start managing his perception instead of expressing your truth. You shrink, you shapeshift, you second guess, and you walk away wondering why something didn't land. It wasn't your outfit, it wasn't your timing. It was your energy field being distorted by an old scar that never got air to breathe. Now let's get one thing straight. Your heart doesn't need fixing, it needs facing. That's the Denzel truth. You are not broken, you are not too much, you are not too late. You're just carrying echoes from a time when someone else couldn't see your value and you made the mistake of believing them. But here's the gift inside the wound. That pain, that rejection, it's not a curse, it's a portal. A chance to meet yourself again, this time with compassion instead of critique. When you step through it, when you look that old fear in the eye and say, "You don't define me anymore," something shifts. Your energy gets clearer, your vibration steadier, and love starts hearing you again. So stay with me, my friends, because next we're going to return to a phrase so simple, so powerful, that when used right, it doesn't just land in his ears, it lives in his memory. Number 6, the most powerful phrase isn't loud, it's symbolic. The unconscious doesn't understand language, it understands image. Carl Jung, let's take a breath with that one, my friends, because this next part, it's where everything starts to shift. This is where we stop playing in the shallow end of communication and dive straight into the deep waters of resonance. The truth is, most people are trying to connect using words that only skim the surface. They speak in facts, in scripts, in safe, logical lines. But if you really want to leave a mark, if you want to be remembered not just days later, but in the quiet hours when he doesn't even know why he's thinking of you, then you need to learn the language of the unconscious. And that language, my friends, is symbol. Let me reintroduce a phrase that when said with the right energy, doesn't just land, it lingers on you and me. That's it. Not a paragraph, not a pitch, just 3 simple words that bypass the brain and go straight into the bloodstream of memory. Now, before your mind jumps in, isn't that too forward? Won't it sound like I'm trying too hard? Let me slow you down, because this isn't about pressure, it's about possibility. You and me is not a pickup line. It's a mirror. It gently reflects a shared moment that hasn't happened yet, but suddenly feels real. That says, imagine us together, just for a second. Let me break it down. You say, "I like talking to you." That's nice. But you say, like, you and me could get into some dangerously good conversations. That's a scene. That's a spark. That's a symbol. And it doesn't ask. It invites. It doesn't chase. It casts a spell. See, the male subconscious doesn't respond to facts. It responds to feeling. Not logic, but story. Not evaluation, but emotion. You and me plants a picture that wasn't there before. It creates a small, powerful ripple in his unconscious that says, "What if?" And here's the key. It only works if you believe it. If you say it with playfulness, with ease, with no strings attached, you're not begging for a reaction. You're just offering a spark, and then you walk away and let it burn on its own. Because the most powerful women don't demand attention. They create an echo. They drop the phrase like a feather and let it float. Stay with me, because next we're going to talk about the most underestimated power in attraction. It's not what you say, it's what you don't. Number 7, stillness is seductive. The body expresses what the soul cannot say. Let that move through you, my friends, because this part, it's the one almost everyone overlooks. The part no one teaches you in a dating course. The part that's not flashy, not loud, but devastatingly powerful. It's called stillness, and it is one of the most seductive forces on this earth. We've been taught that love is earned through movement, through hustle, through doing, saying, texting, proving, but real magnetism doesn't come from motion, it comes from presence. You drop the phrase, and then you let the silence breathe. You and me, Then quiet, no stare, no pressure, just ease. Because here's what happens in that silence. His subconscious starts working. The image begins to echo. The space you created becomes a canvas his mind can paint on. And that's what creates memory. That's where the imprint lives, not in the noise, but in the pause. Most people rush to fill the gaps, and they're afraid of silence because silence feels like uncertainty. But you're going to learn to trust the echo, because when you say something meaningful and then let it sit like a drop of ink in water, that's when it spreads. That's when it sinks in. This is what I mean when I say you don't need applause, you need alignment. Alignment with your truth, with your energy, with your knowing that you are enough, even in stillness, especially in stillness. Let me give it to you straight, Denzel style. Stillness doesn't mean doing nothing. It means letting your energy speak for you while your mouth rests. It's the quiet confidence that says, oh, I've said what I needed to say. I don't need your reaction to validate my worth. That's rare. That's magnetic. Because in a world that's shouting for attention, the woman who can hold space without filling it, she becomes unforgettable. Stillness creates gravity. It's the difference between background noise and emotional resonance. It's the difference between being seen and being felt. So my friends, next time you speak from your power, try this. Drop the phrase, smile softly, then let go, and let the silence stretch. Let your energy stay while your words step back. Because that's not nothing, that's everything. Stay with me, because next we're going to uncover the final layer of this path. And it's not about getting him, it's about becoming someone you can't ignore, even when you're saying nothing at all. Number 8, the real love you're looking for is your own presence. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This is it, my friends, the truth beneath all the truths. The moment everything you've heard until now folds back into one thing, you. Not the version of you that performs, not the one that tries to earn love by editing herself down to something smaller, sweeter, safer, but the real you. The you that's been waiting to take up space. The you that doesn't chase love because she is love. Let me say it plainly. You don't attract love by seeking it. You attract love by becoming it. We live in a world obsessed with getting the guy, locking it down, making it work. But here's the truth no one told you growing up. It was never about getting anyone. It was always about getting back to yourself. And when you do that, when you stand in your own presence with calm, grounded certainty, love doesn't just find you, it recognizes you. This isn't about strategies anymore. This isn't about what he thinks. This is about what you remember, about your essence, your value, your light. There's a kind of woman who doesn't need to announce her worth. She walks into the room and people feel her before they see her, and she doesn't hustle to be chosen. She already knows, I am the choice, not because she's flawless, but because she's whole. That's the woman who radiates instead of reaches. And that's the woman who stops asking, will he love me? And starts living as if the answer is already yes, because it is. And the crazy, beautiful part, when you start loving yourself from this place, not as a project, not as a Pinterest affirmation, but as a truth in your bones, you won't just attract love, and you'll shift your entire field. People feel safer around you. Opportunities come easier. Life bends to meet the version of you that has come home to herself. Denzel meets Jung. Let me say it like this. You don't find love in someone else. You remember it in yourself, and suddenly the whole world remembers too. So if this stirred something in you, if something deeper than words whispered, this is what I've been missing, then don't keep scrolling. Don't go back to sleep. Press that like button and hit subscribe. And not for the algorithm, but for the alignment. Because this isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your return. And I'll see you in the next one. Stay rooted, stay radiant, and stay remembering who you are.